Hello everybody, Shinjo here, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I am going to attempt to predict the teams of the Pokemon Horizon cast. When I say Pokemon Horizon cast, I'm primarily talking about Liko, Roy, and Dot, because for the most part they have had changes on their team. I don't see characters like Freed, Molly, Orla getting any new Pokemon to add to their team. And if this video does well, I could do a team build like this for the Explorers, but for right now, I'm focusing on the three main characters in the Rising Volt Tacklers. But here is where things get difficult, because previously I've done team builds like this for Ash, his companions, and his rivals. For the most part, those series were done afterwards, but Horizons is still going on and there's no sign of it finishing anytime soon. On top of that, Liko, Roy, and Dot, none of them are really focused on Pokemon battling as far as the gym challenge goes, unlike Ash, so it's a bit harder to predict their teams. So, to have a bit of a happy medium, I decided on 3 Pokemon for each of their teams because I don't particularly see any of them having a full team at the moment. This especially goes for Liko. I don't count her Pokemon like belonging to Lucius as part of her team, technically. And if I did, this team build would be super easy to make. But regardless, I hope you enjoy, and I'm going to begin this with Liko. First question comes in the form of her starter. In my opinion, I think Sprigatito is going to evolve all the way to Meowscarada. I really don't have any evidence to fully back this up. It's just my personal opinion. And while I could see cases being made for Sprigatito just staying as a Sprigatito, I think Meowscarada could work, especially with Meowscarada being sort of a magician, trick sort of vibe. I could see that being a complete contrast to how Liko is reserved and shy. And the next one is her Hatenna. And in my opinion, I think Hatenna is only going to evolve into Hattrem. I like the idea of Hatenna being shy around strong emotions in the series, and then when it evolves into Hattrem, it just goes to mollywop anybody that shows strong emotions, because that's what Hattrem talks about in its Pokédex. It also helps that I really like the Pokemon Hattrem as well, and I particularly don't see a Hatterene in Liko's future, and this is hard because it's not like I'm building a character like Ash's team where I could just evolve up all of his Pokemon because Ash focuses more on battling. Here's where things get particularly hard for Liko's last Pokemon, because I could build off of Liko wanting to understand the emotions of Pokemon and give her something like a Ralts, but I think that would be too close to the plotline that has been built up with Hatenna with sensing emotions. So instead, I decided to go off the wall a little bit and pick a Pokemon that is Togepi. I am a bit surprised that they haven't dipped into the pool of giving a character Togepi since Misty. There have been Togepi around in this series, like the Evil One in the Sinnoh region, but there haven't been big uses of Togepi since then. And compared to Pokemon like Eevee, where it feels like every single female character got one, I think a Togepi would be really nice to add to Liko's team. Especially when Togepi's Pokédex entries talk about a trainer that finds them will be blessed with happiness. I think something like that would work with Liko. Plus, if you really want to stretch it, people are saying that the next games we're going to visit for remakes are either Unova or Johto. So if you wanted to dip into that Johto nostalgia and give Liko Togepi, you can make a case for that. Not to mention, this would be the first premiere of Togepi since it's changed to a fairy type. But that's all I could come up with for Liko's character right now. So let's go next to Roy. Now, between Liko and Roy, Roy is definitely the one more focused on battling, so it was a bit easier to make a team for him because he's so similar to Ash. So first, what I decided to do is evolve his Fuecoco into a Skeledirge. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility because I don't really see Roy keeping his Fuecoco at its base stage, and I feel like you can make a case for Crocolore, but in my opinion, Skeledirge just works so much better. Especially with Roy and Fuecoco's chant to battle basically being a song to foreshadow its evolution, I think it works so much better. And also, Fuecoco admires Freed's Charizard, so I feel like wanting to evolve fully would be something that it would want to do. Not to mention, I feel like the bird at the end of Skeledirge's snout could be a nice little plot point they could bring up if they really wanted to. That segues perfectly into Roy's Wattrel, and in my opinion, it's going to evolve into a Kilowattrel. Again, I don't think this is super insane to think, especially since a lot of people might consider Wattrel being the regional bird, and since Ash typically evolves his regional birds all the way up, I think that it would work really perfectly. Plus, again, like I mentioned, Roy is focused more on battling, so I feel like evolving all of his Pokemon isn't really a stretch. But for Roy's final Pokemon, what I decided to do is Capsakid or Scovillain. I'm not sure which one you could argue. Personally, I would like to see Scovillain. I feel like its two heads would be a nice episode where they're fighting amongst each other, but depending on how late he gets it, Capsakid might be the only form that he gets. I personally don't remember the episode. I'm assuming it's the picnic episode that Roy mentioned that he likes spicy food, so a Capsakid or a Scovillain would work perfectly. Sure, that means that he has two fire types, but who really cares? I didn't necessarily plan for Roy to have an all Paldea team, but that's what we're going with. And finally up is Dot. Dot is an interesting one because Dot only has one Pokemon at the moment. So I had a lot of ground to cover when coming up with Dot's team. So first, to get it out of the way, I think her Quaxly is going to stay as a Quaxly. My humble opinion, Quaquaval and even Quaxwell don't really fit that well. Plus, considering that Dot is a social media influencer, I feel like wanting to keep her Quaxly as a Quaxly makes perfect sense. You might disagree with me, but this is my opinion. Next is something that may or may not change over the course of me recording this video to when I post it, and that is Tinkatuff. So in a couple of weeks in Pokemon Horizons, there is going to be an episode on a Tinkaton that needs to find a new hammer or something like that. I'm not sure about the details. All I know is Tinkaton's involved and Dot is involved somehow. And I personally think this will be a perfect chance for Dot to get a second Pokemon. I personally think Tinkatink works perfectly. I don't remember if I said Tinkatink or Tinkaton. The names are similar, so it's hard for me to differentiate them. But regardless, I think that Dot will catch Tinkatink in its base form and evolve it into Tinkatuff only. You can make a case for Dot evolving it all the way to Tinkaton, but on the off chance they decide to bring Poppy into the anime, I think it will be best to keep it at its middle stage. Plus, I think Tinkatink is a bit too small to even focus on battling when the explorers come up, so I think a Tinkatuff will be cool. And finally, for Dot's last Pokemon, this is a bit of an odd choice, but I'll share with you my thought process. That Pokemon is a Mischievous. So, my idea initially was to give Dot an electric type, kind of hint at the bond that she has with Iono, but I couldn't really see an electric type that worked for Dot. I was leaning towards a Pokemon like Blitzel because it's an electric type, and also to kind of foreshadow the Unova remix that will eventually happen, but I decided to go with a Mischievous because The color scheme of Mischievous and Dot works oddly well together, and also it's a nice nod to Iono's Miss Magius that she has. Whether or not she keeps it in the anime, that's a different situation entirely. It really works in the fact that Mischievous has Pokédex entries where it sneaks up behind people and surprises them. I feel like a situation like that would be really funny to see in the anime. It also helps that Liko and Dot both have Pokemon from Generation 2 that evolve in Generation 4. It totally wasn't planned, but I'm not going to complain about it. But those are the teams that I've decided on for Liko, Roy, and Dot. I'm not sure if you'll entirely agree with me or disagree with me. Also, the team size is a little bit up in the air, but since I haven't seen any evidence to support Liko, Roy, and Dot getting full teams, that's why I only decided to focus on 3 Pokemon. But if you enjoy, make sure to hit that like button down below. Let me know your personal opinions on teams for Liko, Roy, and Dot. And if you want to see a video like this for characters from the Explorers, then let me know that down in the comment section. And I'll see you next time. Momentai.